Paris's Cinémathèque Française is showcasing iconic filmmaker James Cameron's talent. Sophie Lamotte reports on the retrospective exhibition that opened earlier this month.
He's an icon in Hollywood. James Cameron directed blockbusters like Titanic, Avatar, and Terminator. His directing secrets are revealed in an exhibition at the Cinémathèque de Paris. At the opening early April, visitors were eager to find out more about his work. His greatest films were born on paper. James Cameron loves to draw. Terminator is a vision, a nightmare that he painted when he woke up.
I thought, maybe I'll write a novel and I'll illustrate it. I was thinking in panels, I was thinking in frames, so I was really thinking in shots, if you think about it. So the transition into filmmaking was really pretty easy.
James Cameron isn't just a daydreamer. His films break all the records, like Titanic.
I'm flying!
When Leonardo DiCaprio draws Kate Winslet, the portrait is actually signed by Cameron himself. It's the director's hand we see in the images. Here's the original, centerpiece of the exhibit in Paris.
And after your death.
His latest hit, Avatar.
This is our home!
3D experiments, underwater live-action filming, and extraordinary special effects. James Cameron is always at the forefront of technology. In his 40-year career, he's explored water, space, with futuristic epics and historical reconstructions. His next film has already been shot. Avatar 3 will hit the movie theaters in late 2025.
From his adolescent sketches to the portrait of Rose in Titanic via the character studies for Terminator and Avatar, an exhibition at the Cinémathèque Française here in Paris presents the work of James Cameron through his founding passion for drawing. Now, it is an art that Cameron himself says he fears is in the process of being lost, but also an art that has never left him. The American director, who is preparing at the moment the third instalment of Avatar, explains to us now how his art turned into cinema.
A feedback loop between the art and the storytelling. And I didn't, I thought, maybe I'll write a novel and I'll illustrate it. And that didn't exist. I mean, they had comic books, but they didn't have graphic novels yet. But that was my idea. That's what I thought I was going to do. I was thinking in panels, I was thinking in frames. So I was really thinking in shots, if you think about it. So the transition into filmmaking was really pretty easy, because it was just an extension of everything that I'd been doing. So I went into an extremely creative phase around trying to make a science fiction movie. I quit my job. I was working as a truck driver. I quit my job. I started working on it full time. We had a little bit of money from a company that wanted to do some kind of science fiction movie. They didn't know what. The Star Wars had just come out, made all the money in the world, and the light bulb went on all over Hollywood and all over the world. Oh, science fiction can make money, right? And it was the point at which, you had the 50s and the 60s and the early 70s, science fiction was dystopian. It was bad futures, it was apocalyptic, it was all the things that can go wrong. Star Wars was about adventure. It was aspirational. You wanted to be in that. You wanted to be in that movie, and that was the first time, really, that had happened. So it was a whole new world, and I was poised with all of the books that I had read and all the ideas. You can see all the ideas around the exhibit. I was ready to go. So I just went off like a bomb, and I started just painting and drawing all these scenarios. You can see elements here, like this guy became the Banshee, the Akran in Avatar. Exactly. I mean, this is much more of a manta-like creature. We eventually wound up with something more pterodactyl-like, but we kept the idea of the jaws that open like that, the teeth that fold in and come out. That's right there. I also gave that idea to Stan Winston. We were on a plane riding together, and he says, I got to design this predator. I said, have its teeth go like that. And he said, oh, I like that. And he drew it up. That's where the predator came from. So, I only have a few ideas. I just keep recycling them over and over. And this is a kind of mashup of the whole xenogenesis story. He gets a synthetic arm. He becomes a cyborg. It's a love story. The spacecraft with the bright, antimatter engine, the Blue Girl. This was 77 I painted this, or 78 maybe, right? This saved us a lot of money when we got sued by 11 different people on Avatar, that they had the idea first. They said, no, I did this in 1977. They all went away, right? But here's another interesting one. This machine, this big robotic machine on treads, morphed later into the hunter-killer machine in the Terminator, right? So that wound up in Terminator, that wound up in Avatar. The blue and purple and magenta planet wound up in Avatar. You know, cyborg stuff just everywhere. You know, this guy. You know, some of these ideas will actually emerge in Avatar 3 and Avatar 4. Okay. Right. So a little bit of not a spoiler, maybe a teaser. Right.
If I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know that it was yours drawing at first.
Most people don't. I mean, I didn't make a big deal out of it, you know, when the film came out, because I wanted them to think that, you know, Jack was really the artist, you know.
But you did every drawing that Jack did in the movie.
Yeah, Jack's whole portfolio, or most of it, is in here. There are a few in a museum in Perth right now, but eventually we'll get them all back together. But yeah, the one of Rose obviously was the most important one, because that's the plot, the one that you actually see drawn on camera. So Kate posed for me as a photo shoot in, I think, a bikini, right? So I had to use my imagination. And you can see there's some different poses that we experimented with here. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to see her hands. I wanted there to be beauty and character and expressiveness in her hands. I didn't want it to just be about her naked body, you know, because I wanted Jack to see past that to the essence of her, and I wanted the drawing to reflect that, right?
She had beautiful hands, you see.
I think you must have had a love affair with her.
No. Just with her hands.
But that's crazy to see the difference between drawings of spatial vessels and then just the humanity, the pure humanity of
Well, and I think his portfolio, if we look at some of the other drawings from his sketchbook, you know, what is Jack interested in? People. This old guy, you know, it looks like he got him to stand there for 2 minutes and sketched him quickly. A mother nursing a baby while dressed in Edwardian wardrobe, that would have been a very strange thing in those days. Maybe in a bohemian area of Paris, not so strange at that time, but still pretty strange culturally. Hands. So I looked at all my old notebooks, and I was drawing people that I'd see in class or outside in the park and that sort of thing, and just put it all on the same page, you know, because he didn't have any money, so paper would have been expensive. You know, so he'd put several drawings. You know, he loves this guy's hand, so he does a separate drawing of the hand. You can see he's fascinated by hands, by expression. Here he's just drawing some dancers, you know, nude, which was not a big deal for artists at that time. Certainly not in Paris, I wouldn't have thought. And then in the story, in the dialogue, there's the one-legged prostitute, and you see Kate Winslet react to the drawing, but you never actually see the drawing. Yeah. I mean, I think the drawing is okay, but the image in your mind is better than the drawing, right? So we chose not to show it in the edit, although I did create it. But I was trying to create a character for Jack by what he saw.
Even if the audience doesn't see the details of the images.
Exactly. They go by quite quickly, you know, but it suggests something about him, that there's a sensitivity to him, that there's an empathy to him. I wanted it to be more than just he saw a girl that he thought was attractive and said or did anything to win her heart. It's more like he's a naturally open and empathetic person. And when she sees into his mind through his art. I think maybe when I was 19, I wanted somebody to see me through my art. Never happened, by the way. Never happened, but you can fantasize. We hadn't cast Zoe Saldana yet.
Yeah.
But I knew that the design of Neytiri was going to be the keystone for all of the Na'vi characters. Because the question was, how human do we want to be? How alien do we want to be? And we had a lot of designs coming in. We had Wayne Barlow working with us, who's done some amazing artwork about extraterrestrial creatures and ecosystems. They kept coming back so alien that I didn't feel an empathetic connection. So I did this drawing to just give the art department a kind of an inspiration, and I wanted her to be a person that we wanted to know. So very large eyes we respond to. You see it in manga, you know, in the Japanese art and anime. So large eyes, cat-like eyes. I decided not to do an elliptical pupil like a cat because that felt too obvious, even though we were doing cat-like ears. And so, you know, the face opened up. The idea of these kind of camouflage markings, like a cat, or like maybe a large cat, like a jaguar or an ocelot, something like that. But the source for this was a photograph that was in the LA Times as part of the promotion for The New World. There's a young actress named Koryanka Kilcher who played Pocahontas in The New World. So this is actually her lower face. She had a very interesting face. And I wound up meeting her years later, and I gave her a signed print of this. This is actually the original. I gave her a signed print of it, which she has up over her fireplace, because not that she was the inspiration for the character, but I just wanted to show how a specific person's look could come through in the character. And that was important, because then the second we cast Zoe, we started, you know, Neytiri suddenly looked like Zoe. So, you know, the question is, how did we get to that point?